Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us a part of your day. Zeke, say hello to the folks.
Aloha.
You said that last week.
Oh, well, hello.
Hello.
The aloha backwards?
Yeah. Remember we talked about aloha, mahalo, all that stuff?
John, it's been 7 days and nights. I've slept at least 8 of those. I mean, who knows?
Well, we have a special guest. I don't even want to beat around the bush. We have Mr. Andy Chapman from Eat Y'all. Thank you very much for coming into town.
Howdy, y'all. Thanks for having me.
See,
I thought since he went all the way to Hawaii, I figured I'd, Eat Y'all. We got to be howdy. We got to be.
I've done howdy before.
Have you?
John, they already know I'm the redneck. I don't have to exemplify it. They hear the northern accent every time you speak.
No, they don't. See, I can talk like this, too.
That's so fake.
It's not fake.
Go get the car. Where's the car? Where do we park the car?
No, it's car.
See, bingo. Tricked you right into that one. Thanks.
It's park the car.
My work is done here, people.
Well, we are very lucky to have Andy because Andy, we've known Andy for a while. We've gone to some events that he's put on with Eat Y'all. It is really amazing, all the chefs that he knows, all the food that he curates. I mean, you want to tell the people what you do for a little bit?
Yeah, so basically with Eat Y'all, we connect the ingredients and farms and makers that are Southern to chefs, whether they're Southern chefs or elsewhere, and consumers. And so we do that through doing food events. We have a whole pop-up series that's coming up. You can find out on Eat Y'all. There's 4 dinners that are our Pop-Up Connect series where we're basically finding a bunch of fun farm ingredients, getting them to the chefs and having them cook dinner for 60 or 80 people. And then our supper societies are rolling out this fall, and you can go learn more about that. But that's a whole next level dinner experience. We've got some of them where songwriters and artists are going to be there. It's kind of taking the knob, turning it all the way up on a dinner party, and then ripping it off.
These go to 11.
It's 11-teen, I think, is where we're going there.
Well, you guys have something. I know you have something coming up in Chattanooga for people in Tennessee. There's something in April in Chattanooga.
Right. We've got Chef Eric Neal is going to do one of our Connect dinners there. And then down in Mobile, Alabama, we'll be doing something with Chef Chris Renachek and Susan Spicer from New Orleans. They're teaming up for a dinner. And then we're heading down to Bainbridge, Georgia on May 22nd. All these are on the Eat Y'all website. We've got a special guest chef that's going to be announced pretty soon that'll be pairing up with Chef Tyler Thomas down there in Bainbridge, which is, about 45 minutes north of Tallahassee. So those are all coming up real soon. And then Blue Smoke, New York. Y'all met Jean-Paul Bourgeois when he was here.
I remember him.
He is awesome, and we're going to have a special dinner up there June 7th. It'll be kind of right before Big Apple Barbecue, which is when a lot of fun people will be in town in the food world. So we're excited about that one as well.
He was one of my favorite chefs that came to Southern Whiskey Society last year, and the guy is just funny as heck too.
He's a spirited fellow from Louisiana. We love him. We were at the John Foles from down that way, did a boucherie. It was a big hog killing. And Jean-Paul was there filming for a new show he's working on. Just a tremendous guy, tremendous cook, tons of knowledge on food. And, I mean, that's the kind of guy you want to hang out with.
Yeah, and if there's anyone who should have a show on the Food Network, it's him.
Because it's that guy, right?
Yeah, like you meet him and you're just like, this guy needs a camera.
And it was awesome to watch him following him around. And, some people have to, turn it on. Jean-Paul was just like, hey, I'm here. Film me.
So, for those of you that are wondering what all the noise is, Zeke is actively going back and forth on a book.
He needs to get it all on one page, Zeke, haven't you?
What I was writing was to make a simple comment that if you're going to be in Bainbridge, Georgia on May the 22nd, I would only bring Air Wick clothing because every ounce of sweat in your body will be continually coming out of you.
Why is it going to be hot on May 22nd?
Because it's after April. Anything after April in that vicinity and some others.
So there will be some wind. Hey, and that event is inside. So
if you won't win, you may want to go to the mall and stand where the old women are shopping so they can walk and fart past you because there ain't going to be much past that. It's stagnant. It's humid. It's nasty.
More importantly, though, do you guys have like a tour T-shirt? Because I think you need a T-shirt with all the dates on the back.
We should. That's a great idea. I'm going to talk to Christy about that.
Yeah, just like the Eat Y'all.
The stars and the dates and the chef names and the whole deal.
Yeah, the summer tour 2018.
Will you come out and run the T-shirt table for us?
Absolutely.
If we can feed you.
I mean, have you seen me?
John's always looking for a meal.
I don't know if the ROI would be there for you guys to put me at the table, but I would be more than happy to go.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the early on in the Blues Brothers. Well, you boys played for this long, you earned this much money, but the amount of beer you drank was double. So who's going to foot that bill?
Well, we are very, very happy to have you here. I know we'll talk about it again at the end of the show, but if you guys are looking, go to eatyall.com. They are on Instagram. It's Let's Eat Y'all. And they are on Facebook. Search for Eat Y'all. You'll find them on Facebook too. Go to the website, see all the places that they're going to. The Supper Club is a really cool idea, and it's bringing a lot of people together. I know you guys have worked it with Leaper's Fork here in the Middle Tennessee area. So
yeah, we've got a dinner coming up there, and we will announce the date in late September here very shortly. We're finalizing all the details. We've got a couple of really cool chefs lined up for that one.
And we always love the Kennedys over there, so
they're great.
With them.
They're great.
Anyways, since you're in town, it's something that we don't always get to do. We talk to you a lot through the interwebs or texting, but we never get to actually hang out in person because you're all the way down in Mississippi. So we decided, since you were coming into town, what we are going to do this week is we have to do it blind. We always do it blind. Zeke and I were kind of talking about what we would do for a blind because we haven't we're always looking for a new challenge, right, Zeke?
Indeed, and it's also usually last minute given our schedules and everything else in the world going on. So it was true to form a very much last minute. Now, when are we getting together and what are we doing and who's there? And well, okay, not much of a plan again. All right, well, let's try and at least sketch something out halfway.
Well, I appreciate you guys fitting me in. I'm so glad to get to do this with y'all because it's been fun to watch you guys explode. So,
well, and I think it's fun. Thank you, first of all. But second of all, I think the fun thing for us is because people always say, "Do y'all really do those blinds? Do you really blind each other?" We say, "No, we do."
There's been a lot of secrecy in here tonight, and I'm just going to leave it at that for your own. No, I'm kidding. No, it's been. No, it's pretty neat to see all the different, the different things go in the glass and try them all and see what we find.
Oh, I thought by explode you were referring to me, actually speaking pretty quick.
I appreciate that.
Well, when I walked in and Zeke said like 12 words in about 4 seconds, I was like, I thought maybe John edited you down and just had you in like halftime or
like
something.
When you hold the record and then change the speed slow-mo? Yeah.
But what we decided to do is that everybody was going to bring 2. So we have 6 whiskeys in the blind. 2 of them we know. So I know the 2 that I brought. Andy knows the 2 that he brought. Zeke knows the 2 that he brought, I hope. Maybe. You never know with Zeke.
Did he write him down?
He did blind himself a couple weeks ago at our 1792 show because he poured the Early Times bottle and bond and the 1792 bottle and bond, and then he forgot what he put in each glass. So he blinded himself.
I can honestly blind myself at home in 15 minutes and not know.
He just doesn't have a cheat sheet of which one was which.
I write down everything.
So you got to go back to the bottle and try to sniff it out.
Like we have here, which folks can't see, but
they will see. I took pictures.
Pieces of paper under each one. I'll write down ahead of time what's what. Literally walk in and out of the kitchen 4 times over 15 minutes. Move everything somewhere. Leave the piece of paper under it. By that 4th time, I have no clue, and I have not paid attention to what ended up where. And it's a legit blind that I did myself without knowing.
Wow.
And if Zeke and I try to ask our better halves to blind us, they just kind of laugh and say, "Does this have to do with bourbon? Because we're out."
You want me to help you drink? Ain't got a problem with that I've ever seen.
But what we did is each one of us brought 2. It's essentially a blind of 4 for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to rank the ones that other people brought. We're going to then rank all of them. So we're trying to take our own bias out of this. So I will rank the ones that Zeke brought and the ones that Andy brought, and then I will rank all 6 so that we're showing that we don't have bias. Then we will tell each other what we had, and we'll talk about those. We'll talk about what got us to our rankings, what we thought about the whiskey. We'll talk about some trends that we find in there, and then we'll say if we'll buy them. It's pretty much the same formula every week.
Sounds good to me.
All right, Zeke, I know we're doing this a little bit early, but we have a lot to drink, so should we fast forward right now?
No time like the present.
All right, roll it.
Boom.
Wow, that was a lot to drink. What'd you think?
I got to say, I've my mind is kind of going wild with some of these picks, like dying to know what this is. And do I really like this? I think I do. But I'm pretty excited to find out what's behind the curtain here.
And I think some of these, I know that Zeke's always good to bring something good. He's good for it. So it's almost like my bias is I don't want to put his last and look stupid when he all of a sudden says, "Oh, I brought out this really good thing." Although I am expecting Early Times Bottled in Bond to be in here somewhere.
I got to give it a rest every now and then. I can't share all of those prized possessions with folks.
So what we tried to do here is we tried to get something that is relatively attainable. It doesn't necessarily need to be, it could be an allocated release. It could be something that was, a special release, but something in there that is not, we're not throwing Al Young in here. Is essentially, we're not throwing George C. Stagg in here. We're not throwing Al Young. Something a little bit lower, but something everybody can kind of relate to. Zeke, I think it's only proper that we let our guests go first.
Exactly.
Andy, what did you think of these? Rank your top 4 out of the ones that you didn't bring, and then rank your top 6 with the ones that you brought.
So top 4, I'm going with this number 1 of yours. I don't know what it is. I just had to go with my gut there. Then I went Zeke number 2, and then I went back to Zeke number 1, and then John number 2.
All right, and then all 6 of them. What do you get?
I would go. I love one of the ones I brought. Yeah, I feel special, especially close to that one.
No,
John.
that's fair.
So I'm going with Andy 2, and then going down the line back to John 1, Zeke 2, and then I'm going to throw Andy 1 in there, Zeke 1, and John 2.
All right.
Is that tricky enough? Everybody that's listening, you followed us completely.
No, that's good. And then we'll talk about our tasting notes after we say what they are, because I think it's always interesting once everybody, once the air is cleared and we all know that we're talking apples to apples, it's a lot easier to talk about the tasting notes then. But the rankings are always good to get out of the way now. So Zeke, what did you have?
Okay, so not including my own 2 contributions here, I would go A2 is number 1. I would go A1 is 2.
Zeke hates me.
J1 as 3 and J2 as 4.
And then everything in there, what'd you get?
Still A2 is 1. I would put my 2 as a 2. I would put A1 is 3. J1 is 4. J2 is 5. And Z1 is 6. Well, that being said, John, let's see where you ranked your own tasting here.
So we are seeing a little bit of a trend here. Zeke was looking for this stuff, but I have A2 as my number 1.
Oh.
I have Zeke's second as my number 2, Andy's first as my number 3, and Zeke's first as my number 4. If I were to rank them all, I put my first one as my number 1, I put Andy's second one as my number 2, Zeke's second as my 3rd, Andy's first as my 4th, my first one at 5th, and Zeke's first one as 6th. Drum roll for the big reveal. So overall, right?
So A2 is my favorite, your favorite, and his second.
I know that clearly ran away with things. It got really murky really fast if we all included all 6, though.
I know.
That's why I want to put this down and make sure I have it correct.
All right, so should we say what these are now?
I'm ready.
Are you ready, Zeke?
Yeah, I think I remember. Maybe. At least one of the 2.
So a couple of trends here before we actually talk about this stuff. Andy's second got 2 votes for the winner. My first was up there, first or second, for Andy and I. You didn't like it. But the consensus is, Zeke, that your first and my second are pretty much everybody's votes for the bottom 2. So a couple trends here that between Andy's second, my first, and Zeke, you just liked all of Andy's stuff more than anybody else's, which I really did like Andy's first and second.
So I thought my first one was going to be. I thought it might be a wild card that y'all would be like, yeah, I don't really love that. It's been a big favorite. That is, you ready? Are we ready to say it?
One of yours, and I want to say it's your second. One of them kind of tasted like EHT barrel proof to me.
And that's what it is. That's what number 2 is. The first one is 1792 barrel proof.
I was kind of getting a little bit of familiarity with that one because we just did it.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, let's see if you could, because when I was flipping through your notes, I was like, oh, well, let's see if they pick that out and go, ooh.
So that one, so Zeke, you give me all the hell. But looks like your favorite is EHT barrel proof.
I've said I really love the 128.1. We said that before we started recording. I don't know what proof it was.
That's what it is, 128.
There we go.
Yeah, I've said that plenty of times. I've had no qualms admitting that I thought that was a really good pour, and it gets slept or missed out on a lot. I mean,
and I found this one, I think, for like $89.
Oh, there you go.
So.
I mean, retail on it's going to be $79 to $80. The retail on the 1792 is going to be about $50. So,
well, I'm paying Mississippi prices, so we have to pay a little more than you guys do. So,
what does it go for down there?
So I think the Colonel Taylor was either $79 or $89, and I think that 1792 was $60.
So that's state regulated.
Yeah.
Like Alabama, all ABC?
All ABC.
So, Zeke, do you want me to go next or you?
Fire away.
So, my first one, I'll say next because I know Andy really wants to know what that one is. My second one was Old Fitz Bottled and Bond.
Oh.
So, a nice $15 bottle. It's 100 proof. It's non-age stated, but we know it's at least 4 years. 75% corn, 20% wheat, 5% barley, and it's $15 for a liter. My first one was Parker's Heritage 11-year single barrel. Retails for $130, and I know that just made Andy cringe because he really liked it. It's 122 proof. 78% corn, 12% malted barley, 10% rye. Zeke wasn't a big fan of the Parker's Heritage when we had it in our Whiskey of the Year show.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, you're not a big Parker's Heritage fan.
Well, they range so much, and there's all kinds of different mashes, and I don't remember the number. I hope it's not 11.
So you said that was 78% corn?
Yes. You don't really taste the corn on it.
No, you don't.
Interesting. But there's one of those that supposedly is very similar to a lot of Willett's, obviously being Heaven Hill. I don't know if it's 11 or not, but if it is, then I might be in trouble.
No, it's not that one. And but there's some other ones. There's a wheated mash.
Yeah.
There's I have the wheat. I'll bring you some of the wheat to try.
But, wheated?
Yeah, wheated. So what were yours?
So without further ado, my two, and then we can hopefully really try and lasso this thing back in and make heads or tails out of it once everyone knows what they are, and we'll at least let the people that give notes on the 4 they didn't bring.
I can't even guess your 2, by the way.
My first one was Elijah Craig 18.
Oh,
Really?
that's one I've actually been really wanting to try, but have never had it.
My second one, Blom Brothers 10-year 117.8, which Blom Brothers is the Nodder bourbon. If you look at the label and don't laugh, something's wrong because it's just super funny in today's bourbon market. But if you turn it the right angle, you can see that the not our just specifically says not our bourbon in italics. They make no qualms about it. It's just good old MGP juice out of Indiana.
The thing that's really killing me here is I know that I'm not the biggest fan of Elijah Craig 18. I do like things that Elijah Craig does. Typically, the Elijah Craig 18 tastes very oaky to me. And I think I know now why Zeke, when we were doing the tasting, and I was like, I'm getting mint and black licorice. And Zeke was looking at me like, you're getting what? But I got a lot of mint and black licorice on that 18. And I really, I just wrote down, it's not 100 proof. It was a little bit thin to me compared to the others. It didn't fit the profile, the oaky profile I normally get from an Elijah Craig 18. What did you think, Andy? This was your first time having it.
Yeah, this was my first time. I actually wrote down that I had some vanilla and caramel notes. There's some tobacco here, some earthiness that I guess from that age. And then I actually did write down that there was some good oak in the finish, but it was not like over oaked or anything. But I really like that. And it's something. Here's what's funny. Like I've looked at that bottle and seen it, in ridiculous prices, and I'm like, you know what?
But it was your second to last too.
Yeah, what out of the 4? I know. So I'm kind of surprised. I'm surprising myself here. Well, and your Parker's Heritage. I mean, come on, that's crazy.
I mean, I figured. Have you had that one before?
Never.
So compare. Those are going to be the 2 most expensive out of here. So I don't want to jump around a little bit, but let's talk about.
And to be fair, if you only get number 4 for Andy if he omits his 2, bumping the Elijah Craig 18 that high up. Otherwise, it would have been a 5.
Yeah.
So it didn't blow anybody away.
No, and for me, I mean, I had that one as my last one. Zeke, you had that as your last one. Andy had that as his 5th when he put everything together. I guess, let's not go to the Parker's Heritage. Let's talk to the other one that came in last. And that is the Old Fitz Bottled and Bond. And that's going to be $15. For me, I said that one, I got a lot of honey, vanilla, but oak, little bit of baking spice on the nose. The taste was oak, vanilla, and caramel, but the finish, and I think this is what kills me. I do like Old Fitz Bottled and Bond, especially for $15 for a liter, but I think it's the finish on the Old Fitz Bottled and Bond for me. It's very much a dry oak. I don't love the finish. It kind of makes me think as that very expensive over 10-year, what is it, like, what's the age statement on the Old Fitz that's coming out?
10 or 14 or something.
Yeah, maybe 14 that's going to come out on that allocated Old Fitz release, but I'm hoping the finish is a little bit better now that it sits in the wood a little bit longer. But
it's not a harsh finish.
No.
But it's just not the greatest finish. It doesn't leave you, you don't have that kerosene finish or anything.
As someone that doesn't like Elijah Craig 18, I almost had trouble putting it number 6 on that one. I went real quickly. Nose, more bronzy, less heat, faint what was there, catch a little bit of barley hint. Palate was barley heavy with nuttiness behind it. Then just a very light bitter, and the finish was just super dry and prickly.
Prickly? I like it.
Evaporates, it's dry.
What else did you get on that one,
So
Andy?
I kept getting some fruity, like pear and apple, like just on the nose. I couldn't quite, it was kind of like something we looked at earlier, but I was like, man, it's not a sweet fruit, but it was kind of like an old fruit. A little bit fruity on the nose for me.
$15 for a liter.
Yeah,
I mean, that when you're factoring in the price to that, it's hard not to go, okay, I'm going to bump that up 2 spots just because it's accessible, it's available.
only in Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
There might be one other state, but that's a Kentucky-only release. You can get Old Fitzgerald other places, but the Old Fitzgerald bottled bond.
So it's like a Heaven Hill bottled bond.
Yep.
Well, hint, hint, there is another bottled and bond out there now in Kentucky, and apparently Oregon, maybe 1 or 2 other places.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin, a couple other places you could get that early times bottled and bond. I threw this one in there, and the reason why I threw this one in there is this is the only wheated mash bill that we have. It's 75% corn, 20% wheat, 5% barley. There is no rye in this one. There is the fact that it is $15, and it is a bottled and bond that is not early time. So that is something that is kind of a toss-up for Zeke.
For something to be a wheater, John, what percent is it? Like if for it to be, that's a wheater, what percent does that need to be?
Well, so the predominant grain besides corn needs to be wheat.
Okay, so it just needs to be the most predominant.
Yeah, so if you think about this, there's no rye. So it is corn, wheat, and barley, where others would be corn, rye, and barley.
There
Unless
you go.
it's a
Thank you,
forward.
Professor. I hope I passed the final exam here.
No problem.
I love getting the education here. I hope your listeners because there's so much to learn about bourbon, and that's what's so neat. You guys aren't snooty about it. You're just kind of breaking it down and having fun with it. And so I love different things, but gosh, there's so much to learn. And then you're like, well, I thought I liked this. And then 6 months later you open it and you're like, what was I thinking? And it's crazy.
Well, and that's how we can revisit stuff at our shows and do it again. But I mean, I think we hope for the people that are listening that we sneak in information without making it sound. We don't want it to sound like a PBS documentary, but we also.
Well, with Zeke, that PBS would never air him.
Hey, now.
Hey, Hatfield and McCoy's, they roll that every year.
That's true.
But to the point on the wheated thing, because, especially in forums and other areas these days, and the obvious Weller, Van Winkle, surge, influx, hype, a lot of people now know that it's wheated, and then that is what they equate to, oh man, that's why it just tastes better than so many other things. But then as you bounce around and you find other products that are still wheated, you might not get as good of a response as you did when you drank something else. And I'm not necessarily touting the Weller line, just saying apples aren't always to apples and
well,
whatnot.
That's true. That's very true. A lot of things play into all that, I guess.
But I think a lot of people that, are probably more than scratching the surface, but getting knee deep in there. And you say, oh yeah, I got this really good wheater. Oh, isn't that like this line, huh? They're both wheated, correct? Let me pour it for you. And then you see what you think.
Well, and that's what, there's so many variables, right? There's the age, the barrel placement and then how hot did the summers get? How hot did cool did the winters get?
It's just a rabbit hole.
There's so many different, that's why it's a thing, because if it was all the same, how boring would that be?
But no, yeah, it is fun to, explain those subtle but significant differences in a comical nature and let folks understand that you can't always just take things at a full-on face value or hear 1 or 2 tidbits and then have a full-fledged expectation going in.
Andy had your 1792 as your next one up. We are going from the bottom to the top. We started from the bottom, now we're here. We had your 1792. Zeke had that. No, Zeke had my Parker's Heritage as his 4th. Andy had his 1792 as his 4th. And I had the 1792 as my 4th. Now, this is probably a pick from a store down in Mississippi.
Yeah, it is. It's a Lincoln Road.
I really do enjoy Jamie Ferris's picks. I don't think, once we're getting into this territory, I think these bottom 2 were the only ones with the old Fitz and
Elijah Craig 18.
It's interesting that this number 2, this 1792 was one of the ones that I've had a couple of bottles of that, and I poured it for friends, and with a cube of ice or with a couple drop of water, people that aren't even big bourbon people that would never drink it neat have sipped on it and just been like, man, this is magical. They get the licorice, they get the black cherry, they get lots of really dark, fruity, leathery notes, but it's still got a sweetness. And I've been surprised at the people that have jumped in on that thing and gone, oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I really do like, I have a bottle of the Lincoln Road 1792. I really enjoy it. I think once we're getting here into these top 4, I don't think there's anything that we hate. We just had to say one was better than the other.
Yeah.
Zeke, agreed? Do you concur?
I can follow that theory, maybe, somewhat.
What? So did you not like the 1792 pick?
I'll go ahead and dive into some notes here and kick off that part.
He's got 11 pages on that one, so.
No, the nose honestly seemed really faint, especially as far as any type of alcohol would be related. Somewhat creamy, somewhat butterscotch, somewhat caramel. The second time through, I did pick up a little bit more spice. Palate-wise, it seemed sweet. Decent rye kick. It chews into rye, then bitter, and then starts to thicken up. And the finish was just complete bitter with a light tingle. And for whatever reason lately, anything that's just really bitter on the finish, I'm kind of scoffing at lately. I don't know why.
No, and I think I would agree with you on that. I wrote down, I'm just trying to do things that are different than what you had already said. I said it was kind of a smooth heat. It was very smooth in the beginning, and then that heat really kicks in more on the finish, and that's where your bite is. It still has a nice caramel coat your mouth aspect to it, but I did get some of that burn in the back of my throat. And I think that might be off-putting to you on that one. It keeps with a very consistent 1792 profile with the full proof that we did kind of take into consideration a couple episodes ago, right?
Yeah, they're great bang for the buck, but I think really in the blinds, and depending on what is in the blind, that's where they can really gravitate up or down. And it's funny because honestly, I don't know anyone that will tell you they've had a bad one, but having done them in some blinds recently and not saying they're bad, you just kind of reconsider that and think, all right, do I really need to put this in a better perspective and really, evaluate this in a different angle?
So you mean you hashtag rethink how you drink?
I just teed you up perfectly, John.
Yeah.
Great volleyball spike.
So Andy, what do you think on this one?
The 1792?
Yeah.
I love it. We've gone through, I think we've had 3 or 4 bottles of that I've gotten and shared with friends, and it's a great barrel proof for the dollar. The Colonel Taylor just kind of grabs my heart a little more, and some of that is branding. It's branding makes me love it. There's the flavor, but the story and the bottle and all those things just kind of. I'm a marketer. We help people market things. And so if you look at those 2 bottles and you were to give somebody one as a gift, if they're exact same price, the person who's younger in your bourbon journey is going to open the Colonel Taylor because it's got the tube, it's got the sleeve, it's got the fancy signature.
It's got the tax strip.
It's got all the stuff that makes it go, oh man, that's really cool. Because I actually gave a different bottle of Colonel Taylor to my brother-in-law that we're staying with. And he was like, oh, I've never heard of this. He's not a huge bourbon guy, does more beer. But I was able to go, hey, check this thing out. He pulls it out, looks at all the stuff. And I think that Colonel Taylor story, like when you get out of the blinds and you look on the shelf, it kind of beats a 1792 bottle.
You have to give him the H. Clark Distillery, a Middle Tennessee distillery. You have to give him a black and tan. There's a Tennessee black and tan. It's a $40 bottle. You can get it at all the stores in the area here.
Check that out.
Go pick him up one. It's actually a malted whiskey that's based off of a stout profile that he would like.
We'll try it.
That being said, I would agree with you. I think there are certain whiskeys out there. Zeke and I have talked about it a lot. When you what's the number one whiskey people get their boss? And it's Booker's, because it has the wooden box and it has the presentation that's behind it. A lot of people, when they would go to give a gift and they don't know a lot about whiskey and they just go to the store, they're going to look at the presentation. So things that have
the Blantons, the Bookers,
the tubes, the boxes, the things that look a little bit nicer in the way that you would give a gift.
The marketing director wins, right?
Yeah. What is it? John Madden said 80% of the game is half metal. So, so if you look at that stuff, 80% of whiskey is half marketing.
It is. I mean, and all whiskey, right, is within how many percent of it's each other as far as it's not. We're not talking about a 50% difference, right? But there's all the nuance in the 15 or 20% difference.
But that being said, I would say the 1792 bottle is no slouch either.
Oh, no.
In the way that it's presented, it has that nice gold top. I think...
And when you pop that cork out, you feel like you're really doing something. Because I have yet to do... You cannot sneak a pour of that. Because if you're in the kitchen and you get that cork out, everybody in the house is going to hear it. So... It's got a great...
Cheers to Barton for their cork pop.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, I mean, I think the writing on it, they try to make it's a little more modern writing on that 1792 bottle.
It's a cool decanter type bottle.
I think that's what they're going for in this age that we don't really have decanter bottles like they used to. That bottle almost looks like a decanter.
It does. It does.
Speaking of mash bills, speaking of that other stuff, the next one that everybody kind of put in there was that Blom Brothers. Zeke, do you happen to know if that is the 21% rye mash bill for MGP or is it the 36% rye?
I'm about 83.5% sure it's 21%.
Which is pretty much the standard MGP mash.
John, just in case I may tell someone to listen to this episode who's like MGP, explain what that is. I know a lot of your listeners that are there every week are like, shut up, Andy. But but break that down because I think a lot of these terms get thrown around and people may miss what that is.
It used to be LDI. They bought it MGP, but it's something grain producers. You really need to know is that MGP equals GOOD.
There you go. That solved.
I can tell you that LDI, so MGP used to be LDI, and LDI was Lawrenceburg Distributors Incorporated.
Okay.
So that was the old Seagram's facility in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. It is now MGP, which we know it's like, is it milled grain producers?
I think it's Midwestern Grain Producers. It's something grain producers.
But
essentially, they do everything. They don't just do bourbon or whiskey. I mean,
gotcha.
It's the whole kit and caboodle.
But essentially, it is the number one contract distillery in the whole United States.
Right, and they do a load of popular stuff that's got a great brand, but maybe not a distillery.
Well, and a lot of NDPs. So to use another acronym, NDP is non-distilling producer. So if you think about Blom Brothers, although Blom Brothers is putting out their first juice now, Smooth Ambler used to be an NDP. Belmead used to be an NDP. Now they're coming out with Nelson's, but it is a non-distilling producer. So what they're doing is they're sourcing
Is
whiskey.
Bullet one of those too?
So Bullet is now starting to put their own stuff out, but Diageo had them as an NDP.
Gotcha. Okay.
A lot of people were saying Bullet was Four Roses for a while.
Depending on what age group you're in, it's kind of like the show The Fall Guy. Remember that one? Clint Severs, the song ran at the beginning.
I didn't get to watch a whole lot of TV.
Because I'm the unknown stunt man that made Clint Eastwood look so fine. They're the stunt guy that plenty of people have gotten paid off of, made a lot of money and built up a name and reputation on when it literally wasn't even their own product. They were just buying it.
But it was their brand, Zeke.
Exactly.
Brand.
But what they're doing is they're going out to MGP. They're either sourcing whiskey. They can have a contract to source the whiskey from them, and then they get the barrels and they age them at their own facility. Or they have a sourcing and aging contract with them. So Belmead actually has a sourcing and aging contract with MGP. Gotcha. Where they're actually aging their barrels at MGP. When they're ready to pull them, they go take them. But MGP is basically, they have recipes you can choose from, or you can give them your own recipe and they will make whiskey the way that you ask them to. People don't realize how much it actually costs to get a still.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
Stills can be $300,000-$400,000. I mean, a small still could be $100,000. A bigger still could be $500,000. You can contract out with MGP to have them actually do the distilling for you, and then you get the juice. So those non-distilling producers or NDPs will then market it, put their own label on it. They'll age the juice, or they'll get the juice from MGP when it's ready. They'll put their own label on there, and then they'll get it out. Typically, there's a couple different mashes that will come from MGP. One is a 21% rye, and one is a 36% rye. Another big brand that you will hear that did MGP for a very long time was Smooth Ambler. So all those Smooth Ambler Old Scouts that you see out there, everybody loved those because of the MGP juice that was in there. And Zeke's he's closing his eyes. Zeke's having a flashback to how good SAOS is. But it's almost
was. But
it almost kind of moves. And that's the thing is that...
Well, it's just like Black Maple Hill Farms, right?
Yeah. So now that it's in Oregon...
It's a doorstop.
When it was done in Lawrenceburg... It was really, really good.
Well, even Bardstown, Lawrenceburg was brief. I mean, that was Julian days, but yeah.
The thing about MGP is you got to realize they're doing a lot of distilling. When you think about like Four Roses and people go on, well, did you have Warehouse ME? And these barrels on this shelf in Warehouse ME, these are the honey barrels for the year. It's almost like with MGP, we know they're putting out good juice everywhere, but the distillery that it's coming from is almost moving from year to year. Yeah. It's like who's getting those honey barrels now opposed to who's going to get those honey barrels next year. And that's one of those things that's kind of moving around. I don't know, Zeke, if you would agree with that.
To a degree, and I mean, I'm sure some of it is a sourcing issue, but at the same time, as you see a lot of these craft startups that are originally non-distilling, and they source out product, they bottle it, it sells well, they make some money. I'm sure it's not a killing since they're basically the middle or the third man in the process, but they're getting their feet under their ground, or their feet under themselves for sure, essentially. And then their goals, like anybody else, you want your own stuff out there, you want your own product. You don't want to be you don't want to rely for forever.
Yeah, for sure.
And as you see them move into their own juice, that's going to be the conundrum that I think the majority of them face is, the proof's in the pudding. How good was their pudding when they put their own out there?
Dangerous times.
But I definitely got the heat from this one on the Blonde Brothers. It was fruitiness that came out with the air. It was a smooth, good heat. It was that typical, in my notes here, I said it tasted like typical MGP to me. I didn't know which MGP variation it was, but I did it when I tasted this. I said, "This is MGP."
I drink a lot of unsweet tea, and I got sweet tea in that taste. And of course, that's the one that's not in the Glencairn, so I had to work a little bit more to get the nose on that. I got some sweet tea, definitely that cinnamony, that burn. That cinnamon red hot sort of deal. And then I got some...
Very much like a red hot.
And then I got some kind of old wood, just like comfortable favorite. Like it wasn't like oaky with that sharp edges, but it was just kind of old wood.
Zeke, do you concur?
I do. Very, very quickly. Nose, strawberries soaked in alcohol, faint tart behind. Palate, sweet, but not a corn sweet. Very sugary, but not just young corn. Then some bitterness, and it really seemed almost like a strawberry Twizzler, if you ever had one of those. Not the regular raspberry, but the strawberry. Still some of that bitter back in from, I guess it's a little bit of licorice or something, but the strawberry on the front is more sweeter than a regular Twizzler. Finish-wise...
Maybe go try Twizzler and check that out.
Yeah, it actually went bitter over sweet, I thought. And somehow I got some kind of old polished leather kind of thing, which I guess might be speaking more to where you were with the finish and that oak, but not what we think of as nasty, unpleasant, like just
old wood. I don't know.
Who knows? But definitely on the same page.
You can make up your own tasting notes, right? You can just...
Yeah.
green paint could be, you can make whatever you need to.
Zeke always talks about kudzu syrup.
Now, see, I like that.
He's like, this one's like...
This tastes like Granddaddy's hat. I mean, you can just go like...
well, there is a Dad's Hat rye that's out there.
It's old factory memories. That's like...
It is.
You could give me a million baking, spicing, cooking notes, but if it's a single ingredient, I can't relate to it. Whereas if you say, man, that was just like somebody pulled Mississippi mud out of the oven and it might have been topped off with a little bit of creme brulee just to have the alcohol burning or something, like... Boom, your mind's there.
Zeke's there, yep.
I think that's the thing with us is there are people, we talked about it today with some people, there are people out there that are saying, should I go get the Aroma Academy? All those smells
that you can
get in a kit. For us, we try to do relatable old factory senses, stuff that the good thing about Zeke and I is we complement each other well. And I know that this sounds somewhat conceited. It's not. It is... My deficiencies are made up by Zeke's strengths, and Zeke's deficiencies are made up by my strengths. Because Zeke focuses more on the nose. And
Zeke's got hair. Oh, no, okay. You were going. I'm sorry, you were going a different direction there. Okay, no, I like it.
Zeke is skinny and has hair, and I'm big and have muscles.
So you and I, we couldn't do it together.
No. Two bald guys
but we're both muscular.
We could be bald guys drinking bourbon. But
there you go. That'd be a whole different show.
Zeke is much more nose forward, and I am much more taste and experience. And between the two, we end up coming.
So you got that magic sauce together.
If you take Zeke's notes and my notes and put them together, you might get somewhat one coherent tasting note.
At least 70% accurate, 30% of the time.
What is it? 50% of the time.
Sex Panther.
Yeah. Moving on here, let's talk about first the Parker's Heritage. So for me on that one, on the nose, I had caramel, cherry, and oak. On the taste, I had oak, leather, tobacco, cinnamon, and I said it was creamy. I definitely got a creamy taste on that one. Finish, it was oak and dryness, but I really enjoyed the Parker's Heritage. Zeke, you didn't love the Parker's Heritage.
Not by any means, as I just...
You had it fourth.
Yeah, and I honestly just had it again, and my nose, my palate, and my mind aren't changing here. Nose, actually, I was young. I picked up some rye, medium heat, and honestly, again, not a ton of age. For whatever reason, it just didn't resonate that way. Palate-wise, it seemed Butterfinger, but no chocolate. And I think that probably leads to somewhere of a balance. I mean, they put those two things together for a complement of flavors, and I only got the one just kind of bronzy, coppery, whatever. Not much heat at all, pretty thin, and towards the end, a hint of barley. Finish-wise, it just fell off really fast.
When I got this one, I got the leather on the front of it, and then I thought it really was kind of creamy in the middle.
I got a lot of cream on it.
And then, just kind of coats your mouth and just kind of a happy, it's not real harsh. And I think that may be why I kind of gravitated towards that one.
Last but not least on this one, let's talk about the 128.1. Zeke, you and I have talked about the 128.1 a lot. We've actually seen valuation on a certain market go up on the 128.1 recently. We made sure we bunkered a couple of these before we started talking about how much we liked it. But for this one, for me, I got on the nose, cherry heat, dark fruit, super enjoyable. The nose on this one is super enjoyable. I could have sat there and sniffed this one. I got a lot of fruit on this one, caramel, vanilla, all sorts of goodness coating my throat. The finish was enjoyable. I didn't get a lot of heat on this. You would think something 128.1, you would have a lot of heat. I don't have a lot of heat on this one.
Yeah, I couldn't say that enough. Nose-wise, and that's where I knew we'd had it before. I just couldn't place it because I've only written this down, I think, probably one other time. But I thought the nose was very much some combination of bubblegum and alcohol vapor. The more I dove into it, it just really reminded me of Big League Chew. And I know I've written that down at some point before.
I totally get that. I'm sitting over smelling. That is, you nailed it.
It's the sugary Big
and that
League
brings
Chew.
you back to your childhood.
You had, playing ball. That light pink Big League Chew for the first 5 minutes before it went away. Like
you can get 5 minutes.
Well, I need some more. I need a little more. But no, that's
totally,
that is it. Just that light pink sugar. I mean, I just see it in my mind. I thought palate wise, it really kind of moved. I don't know. I get on themes, but it went from Big League Chew to more of like a big red almost, and had some decent viscosity. And continuing with that theme, by the finish, it was more peppery, somewhat bitter. You could have almost passed this off to me as some type of blend of something where somebody threw in like a cinnamon whiskey. but no, I mean, the way it finished in the back end, I mean, we've all took shots of Fireball at some point in our life. Like,
I actually have not ever, never planned on it.
The one time the renters didn't leave Fireball. Damn, John.
You've never ignited the night?
Never.
But no, like, and I'm not knocking it because I mean I ranked it number one, obviously, but it just kind of gravitated that way to me, and having admittedly been there before. I don't know if it's the most standard of a bourbon profile, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So I found this one probably about 3 weeks ago, the E.H. Taylor barrel proof. And I saw it, and I didn't realize that it was barrel proof. I thought it was the regular. And then I'm like, whoa, wait, that's different. And so I got it, and normally I try to get two of something and hang on to it and then open one and then never open the second one.
And keep it bunkered.
Yeah, and this thing, I've opened it and shared with so many people because I was just like, this is, like, I love it's so drinkable. It's not just a blow your face off with the proof, but you drop a cube of ice or a couple splashes of water in there, and it is just so drinkable. The Big League Chew, kind of what you were saying, it's got that, but it's got that kind of caramelly, butterscotchy in the middle, and just really smooth on the finish for me.
The 128.1 was our dark horse of 2017. We talked about it in our Whiskey of the Year show. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about.
Quit telling everybody. How are we going to tell everybody? No, it's too late.
Everybody knows now. So if you
unfortunately, they're going to put out more 4 grain, not more of this one. Epic fail of 2018. Hint, hint.
Zeke is not a big fan of 4 grain.
But no, that knows. I mean, it's so sugary sweet.
It's beautiful.
It's crazy how I don't know. I can't place it.
It's hard for me to put something else down other than just super enjoyable. It's great.
And even more laughable to me, having had small batch and single barrel, plenty of those have had way more pepper. And I don't know how long you've had this open, but they've had a bigger presence than their proof said they should. But this thing, it's an inverse. I don't know.
Going through here, 1792 full proof. Buy or bar or leave it alone? What do you think? Just quick on everything.
I've bought it, and will continue to buy that one.
Yeah, we've all bought plenty, but I will say recently I'm surprised in blinds.
I will continue to buy it though because it's always a solid. It's a solid drinker. EHT 128.1. I am going to go out on a limb here and say we're all going to buy it. Going to the Elijah Craig 18, I am going to go out on a limb and say Zeke and I will not buy this one. We're going to go ahead and pass on this one.
I would let somebody buy me one of those at a bar. How much was your bottle?
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
At least 175.
Gotcha. I've seen it for 300 at a place, and I was like, it's a little rich for my blood.
I'm never going to buy it for 300.
Yeah.
Never.
I'm not buying it MSRP.
Yeah.
Again.
Blom Brothers 117.8. How much was this one?
I think they're getting up to 70, 75. I mean, it's in line with anything that's 10 years old or cask strength MGP.
I am good to buy this in line with what MGP is putting out. Zeke?
I'm good to buy it, and I'm more excited to see what I hear are private store pick single barrel coming very soon, hopefully to a world near me, maybe you.
I hope Zeke shares.
It's get in with Zeke on that early buy. I'm going to go with yes, buy that one. It's just too interesting to pass up.
Old Fitz, bottled and bond.
Oh, you got to go. I mean, $15, John. What are we talking about?
Even if it's
and that's
not
for a liter,
favorite,
right?
Even if it's not your favorite, you can get a liter for $15, and it's a good conversation piece.
Or you give it to company when they show up, right? You're like, hey, try this.
What's your house bourbon? $15 Old Fitz bottled and bond.
Tell them it's Pappy.
Zeke doesn't agree.
Still pass. I'm a brown. I get into Brown Foreman. It's not anything I hide. That's my jam a lot of days.
Zeke loves the $25 liter of early times bottled and bond. Last but not least, Parker's Heritage Collection, 11-year single barrel by bar.
I'm not even going to ask secondary because no
200
PHC. It's up there, but
no 200. It's not that bad.
This does not grab me by the boozle by any means.
What's a boozle?
Well, you got to spend more time below the Mason-Dixon line, son.
I like it a lot. At that price, I'm probably gonna pass on that and just
Would you get it at a bar?
I would get it at a bar.
Okay. Well, I'd buy it since I have 2 bottles. I'd buy it. I like it. It was my favorite, but
also I haven't seen the bottle and let the marketing talk to me. So I gotta look at that and study.
It's a classy looking. Parker's Heritage puts out classy looking bottles.
I just can't picture it in my head. I've seen it, but I'm drawing a blank here.
Speaking of seeing people, see Andy Chapman at Eat Y'all. You can find him on Facebook at Eat Y'all. You can find him on Instagram at Let's Eat Y'all. You can find him also at eatyall.com.
Yes, sir.
And make sure you go see the Summer Tour 2018. All the greatest hits are going to be there. He's working with all the best chefs. So go ahead and find Andy. Find what him and his wife Mariana are doing. They're great people. I think one of the things throughout all of this bourbon stuff that Zeke and I have been able to do is really meet quality people, and Andy and his wife are 2 very, very great people. I know my wife loves your wife, so
absolutely.
That's we had a little bit of a snafu. We were going to go to dinner tonight. I'm sorry we didn't get to do that, but
it's all right. We'll go double or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you very, very much for coming on the podcast. We loved having you.
Hey, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate y'all letting me come crash your episode. This has been a whole lot of fun, and we'll get you guys down to Mississippi soon for some food. And look, if anybody wants to get on our email list, you can just go to eatyall.com and sign up and keep up with everything we're doing.
Perfect. We should do that. If you want to get on our list, we don't have a list, but you can find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. You can find us on Twitter at Bourbon Dads, on Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Our podcast is on Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Podknife, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you look. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider. Please leave us a 5-star review. If you don't like us and you think we could do better, please reach out to us. Give us a direct message. Let us know what we can do better. We're happy to help. We want to do better for you. Please leave us an actual review as well. You don't realize how much that actually helps us. So put your thoughts in there. Say what you like about us. Say what you don't like about us. Find us on all those places. Zeke, where else can the people find us?
We're always in Nashville, Tennessee, and since this is a word John doesn't get out appropriately, not only is it important to drink bourbon, y'all, but also eat, y'all.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Thank you all for joining. Have a great night. Cheers.